Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's, New Year's Eve, and it is a beautiful morning here. It's
That's great.
absolutely horribly gloomy week, and this morning is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, that is fantastic. And
Yeah. How are things over there?
well, you got to introduce the show.
Oh, yeah. Over 50 starting over, everybody. As if you didn't know where you were. I'm Barry Edwards.
And I'm Merle Garrison. We have had terribly gloomy weather over here as well. We've gotten
For a
rain
while
every
now.
day for the last few days. I mean, I haven't seen rainfall like we've seen in the last couple of days. Pretty much since I lived here. It's been really crazy, just continuous rain. In a way, it's pretty cool because we need the rain, and we probably caught up to any lack of rain this year over the last couple of days to even it out. So that's good. And it always, when the rain clears around here, it always seems to have washed a lot of the smog away. So you can see it's very clear out there and everything. So it rained all the way up until the middle of last night, and waking up this morning, I'm looking outside right now. It looks like we got clear skies. So a great way down the year.
Oh, it really is. But I thought it was that time of year. Isn't?
Well, yeah, we do get a lot of rain.
January.
Yeah, January.
It's a little
usually
early.
That first week of January is when it starts. So yeah, it's right on time, but still, it's nice to get a reprieve here on the last day of the year.
Hey, I got to tell you something. As of about 2 hours ago, our buddy Dan the fireman is now retired.
Oh, congratulations to Dan. That is fantastic.
I didn't think it'd ever come.
I bet he felt that way even more.
Yeah. So he calls me yesterday and says, "Hey, it's my last shift." I'm like, "Oh my God." And
wow.
I said, "So are the guys doing anything special for you?" He goes, "Well, we got vitted out over here. So we're
kidding.
at our bare minimum." He said the chief came up to me and said, "Dan, I wanted to give you a gift of letting you go at noon. Just instead of the whole 24-hour shift, it would have been 4 hours." Wow. And but they're at bare minimum. He couldn't do it. So that's what happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's seemingly happening everywhere. Yeah.
And I said, complete what's the word I'm looking for? I said to him, really try to enjoy every minute. You're never going to be back again. And I know that's hard. You're going to be all apprehensive and what have you, but he's never going to be back again. And so I do hope that he enjoyed that shift, as hard as it is. And you know what? Going out in the way he did, and he and I had talked about this a few times, meaning during this whole vid period, it put a damper on his whole legacy because it's really hard to be there. They had to abide by all these restrictive rules and everything. Like, it's not hard enough to do a 24-hour shift with a bunch of guys. I would hate that. But then you got to do it in isolation, in a degree of isolation as well. Oh my God.
I can't imagine that. Well, I was talking to another friend of mine who recently retired, and, her big thing is travel, and she wants to, really travel the world. This is her big chance. She's worked hard all of her life, but there's so many obstacles now to where you can travel and what you can do when you travel there. And what a bummer.
It is. And, we got our annual trip to Florida booked, and always can't wait to do that. In the last couple of years, it's just like, oh, well, I hope we can go. I mean, God only knows in a month what things are going to be like. You just gotta, my brother and sister-in-law are going to, maybe like now, are leaving for Cozumel. And geez, man, right now, I mean, God only knows if you get back home.
That's the thing, boy. All the flight cancellations that have happened and major delays. There's few things more irritating too when air travel is hard enough, but when
it's so irritating.
I've had some real nightmares traveling
in the best of circumstances.
Yeah, exactly. Gosh, so I feel bad for the people that have had to endure this over the holidays, and it's rough out there, boy. It's rough.
Yeah, it is. So we got a new year coming in. I am hopeful that this whole situation right now, I'm hopeful that we're going to get on the other side of this kind of more permanently. I mean, hospitalizations are through the roof and all of that. Well, to me, it sounds like herd immunity to some extent or another has to be around the corner. That's just me talking. I'm certainly not going to listen to Fauci. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking. What do you think? And let's try to talk in code.
I think that here's what we're seeing. We're seeing cases are up, but hospitalizations and death, the death is down 10% right now. And we know that lags a little bit, but still an encouraging sign. And really hospitalizations, what I saw was up 9%, while cases are up 54%. So I don't know.
It's less severe.
What you're seeing right now is the actual evolution of a virus that is a natural evolution. While contagion goes up, the severity goes down.
Yeah, and that's
what herd immunity really is.
Mm-hmm. So, I just got my third jab the other day.
Did you?
I had a lot of trepidation about it because I heard so many people got sick from it. And so I was kind of like, well, if I'm going to get sick, I'm going to go lick some handrails and just get this over with. And then get my natural immunity along with the 2 other shots that I got. But no, just the more people I talk to, it's just like, nah, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I didn't have any ill effects from it. And
good.
Because man, I heard a lot of people.
I have too. Bad stories about that whole thing. But one thing is true. What we've seen here is that it's very hard to trust the media when it comes to what's actually happening with these things. Because
pick your story, you'll find it, and they'll all conflict with each other.
They really did, and it also depends on the whatever medium you're looking at is what you're going to get on a given day. And I try to look at everything out there, not just one school of thought.
And that's why you don't know what to believe.
Yeah, so it's like get a dart and throw it. And, that's what it is.
That's exactly right.
Because you could be looking at the news on one day and you're going to get just complete opposites. I've never seen it this opposite before, especially when it comes to this subject. So I'm so disappointed in the journalism, that the so-called journalism that's been going on.
Did you hear that second CNN producer is under investigation with that whole child porn kind of thing?
Oh,
I think I have it in my notes for later, but you just made me think of it because CNN has been.
They're lit up. They're lit up. Boy.
Yeah.
We knew this, right? We knew this before this all came out.
But dude, for the people that had the habit of keeping CNN on in the background all day, every airport has CNN.
Right. That's right.
I mean, they didn't know. This is all a shock, and they're still in disbelief. And frankly, they probably still don't know about it.
A lot.
Yeah, it's amazing. But in this upfront episode, this upfront part of the show, I want to talk about some other things. We'll get on. I have so many current events. So much went on this week. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I wanted to just stick to New Year's Eve for a minute and ask, what, like,
well, you got a lot of change going on yourself. 2022 is huge for you.
Well, 2021 has been a complete, I've never seen anything like 2021. And what's weird about it is I thought 2020 was the crazy year, and everybody was, I can't wait till 2021. And that's what we heard around this time last year. And it's like, gosh, 2021 has been just a roller coaster for me. And day and night, starting at the beginning of last year to the end of this year. It's been crazy. But what I wanted to ask you is, do you have any family traditions that you had coming, like, did you do anything with your family growing up on New Year's Eve, or any kind of traditions like that?
No, not at all.
None.
None. Just went out partying with my friends on New Year's Eve.
Really? Like your parents, they didn't celebrate
no.
it? No. Huh,
No, nothing special. Maybe watching the ball drop on TV or something, but nothing sticks out. But since Lisa and I have been together for almost 13 years, every year she's starting it already. She makes this cioppino. It's a Italian tradition. It's a seafood, what do you want to say, stew, a seafood stew. It's delicious. Oh my God, delicious. And Lisa's family has really faltered a lot, and even before I knew her, and so they haven't kept up traditions, and it's kind of bothered her. And so I said, Italians are rich in traditions, and I said, bring more in. Let's do them together. And so this is one that we've done, but I'm all for more of them. I find the Italian heritage, the culture, to be rich, very rich, and I'm all for it. So.
That's pretty cool.
What about you with traditions?
In my family, it was a tradition, and I think this goes along with Black culture, but I'm not 100% on this. But it's good luck food. Greens? Yeah, good luck food is what you have on New Year's Eve, and that includes some type of
never heard of this
pork dish with black-eyed peas, and that's what you're supposed to have. And so my mom would make like kibasi and sauerkraut and ribs and black-eyed peas. My mouth is watering.
I love black-eyed peas.
Oh my gosh. Really, and she made them so good. It would be, and it would smell so good. And so, as kids, we would always watch the ball drop, and my parents would always give us a little bit of champagne at midnight, and we'd bring in the new year, and didn't really do the New Year's resolutions. That wasn't really a part of our tradition, but I do remember, New Year's Day. It was always the college football games were on. The Rose Bowl parade the next morning.
I hate parades. I've always hated parades. I find them so boring.
I wasn't
why do you want to watch that
either, but my dad always had it on, and then it was the football games that would come on, and that would be my New Year's. And what do you think about the New York the ball drop? Was that ever anything that you were into watching?
No, I don't like any of that. No, not parades, not ball dropping, not even college football. I love NFL though. As strange as that is.
Still today, Anne Marie and I, when we just start doing this at home, we turn on the ball drop at midnight or a few minutes to midnight and watch that, and we toast in the new year. But a lot of times I got to wake Anne Marie up in order to watch the ball drop because we're falling asleep.
We're not going to watch any ball drop. We'll be 2 hours into, at least an hour into a slumber by
Barry, I was reading the New York Times about the ball drop. Now, this year in New York City, I don't know if you heard about this, but usually about 60,000 people fill in Times Square. And because of the circumstances that are going on, Mayor de Blasio has limited that to 15,000, so severely cut down. Yeah. But did you know that Times Square is named Times Square because of Time Magazine?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. Yeah, me neither. Apparently, it was renamed from Longacre Square in 1904 to honor the Times moving into its office there. Wow. And then that very year, let's see, Adolf Ach, who was the publisher of the Times at the time, celebrated the move by staging a New Year's Eve fireworks display in the square. So that was really the first one. And then he organized the first midnight ball drop 3 years later, a tradition that actually continues today. So this all happened, I guess the first ball drop was 1907. And then they go into all these different New Year's Eve celebrations that they had. Interestingly, I found that this one, during the flu pandemic in 1918, they kind of did the same thing. They cut it down. There were still people that came out, though, kind of interesting. But let's see, that it says there's an image that may resonate in 2021 at Milwaukee Hotel Ball. Dancers were masked, and that was prescribed by the health department. So it's not the first time that this kind of stuff has happened before. It's kind of interesting.
Wow, that is interesting.
But yeah, and I guess the only 2 times that the ball didn't drop were in 1942 and 1943 since then, and that's because
the Depression.
No, that was during World War II, and it was because they had the dim outs, so that enemy bombers wouldn't be able to pinpoint those areas and bomb the city.
Wow, man, that's
pretty interesting. Else. Yeah, I had no idea about the thing that surprised me is I didn't know that Times Square was actually named after the New York Times. It wasn't Time Magazine. I said Time Magazine. It's the New York Times.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a big difference. Yeah, I didn't know that, and I never gave it a thought. But if you think about it for 1 second, it's like Times Square is a funny name.
Yeah,
you kind of should wonder where did that come from. Yeah,
apparently they moved their offices. They're not actually there anymore, but that is where the name came from.
Where are they located?
No, they're somewhere in Manhattan, but just not in Times Square.
Okay, gotcha. All right, just onto something that I thought was just some good advice here, though may seem a little negative. I'm on this email list for the Cleveland Clinic Wellness, and every once in a while I get something I think is useful. Not often, but every now and then. And this one I want to share with you: 4 signs your body is aging faster than you are. So that sounds it's a little creepy, but
womp, womp.
Right. But you may get something out of this. I think I did. Lifestyle habits are eating a well-balanced diet, exercising regularly, controlling stress, and getting adequate sleep. Some of this is harder than others, are important for healthy aging when it comes to disease risk, cognitive health, and longevity. But they may also prevent you from appearing older than your age. Here are 4 common signs of age that may make you look older than you actually are. Number 1, gray hair. While gray hair is partly genetic, look at my beard here, there are other reasons for going gray that are worth noting, such as including exposure to environmental pollutants. You have a lot of that exposure there where you are currently, and toxins and nutritional deficiencies. So eat healthy. It'll help you with your gray hair. Number 2, wrinkles and sagging skin. Oof. While again, genetics play a role, lifestyle choices such as including a poor diet, smoking, alcohol use, and too much sun exposure can cause skin to wrinkle and age faster. I don't think this one is a big shock to anybody. Muscle loss. Now, this is something that really occurs at this age that we are in. If you're walking more slowly or having difficulty climbing stairs, you may be losing muscle. Muscle loss naturally begins after age 30. Wow. And you can forestall and even correct this problem by doing plenty of physical activity, especially strength training. I'm a huge advocate of that. I've also mentioned before, I recommend taking a supplement called DHEA for both men and women. It activates that a particular gland that for men, it's supposed to help you increase your natural testosterone level. For women, your natural, what is their hormone? I forget.
Estrogen.
Yes, there you go. Thank you. And number 4, last one, receding gums. Years of aggressive toothbrushing That's me. Twice a day. I brush the heck out of my teeth. I really do. Aggressive toothbrushing plus normal wear and tear can lead to receding gums. I don't have receding gums though. Good oral hygiene, such as brushing with a soft toothbrush, using mild to moderate pressure and small motions, plus flossing can help prevent this problem. That's all.
Yeah. The flossing thing is a big deal.
It sure is. And I got to admit, I'm not really good about it, but I brush the heck out of my teeth. I really do.
Yeah. I growing up with a dental hygienist as a mother,
right.
I heard the flossing thing so much. And of course, no kid wants to floss. But if you don't want to lose your teeth when you're older, you should probably do that. That's what I hear from the dentists, and I kind of like my teeth, so
well, it's not only that. I've always had dentists for clients, and it leads to other bad oral hygiene leads to other health problems as well.
That's what I've heard.
It's incredibly important. There's so much that we can talk about, dude. I have notes on here for a long time that Lisa's wanted me to us to cover, like career moves with retirement. What do you do for a third act pivot in your life? Leaving corporate America versus chasing a true career of passion.
Yes.
Those things. Regrets. What will I regret when I'm on my deathbed? How do I find self-forgiveness? How do I make a shift right now? There's so many things. And then yet I have so much in current events, so much. And you know what else? I know I'm going all over the place, but earlier in the week, I started doing some research on the 1619 project because I wasn't totally sure what that was about. I'm sure now. So I wanted, Lisa asked me about it, and I said, well, it's, we bring this up along with critical race theory, kind of gets smushed in there and so on. So I said, I have to look it up in order to be fair and talk intelligently about it. So I did, and I watched a few videos of this. The proponent of this, the originator of this, is Nicole Hannah-Jones, a reporter for the New York Times.
Right.
She brought this up to the New York Times that she wanted to do some editorials on this, do some stories on it, and it turned into a magazine of this whole 1619 project. So I found her to be very intelligent, well-spoken, and but also very slanted in her viewpoint. She clearly came at this from a victim mentality. She clearly comes from our life point of view, from a victim mentality, and she painted this picture in that regard. I empathize. I totally empathize. Okay, so 1619 was proposed to be the first time slaves were brought over to this country from Africa. And so way before the whole Mayflower thing, and I should say way before, but before the whole settling of the colonies and what we traditionally thought. And well, let me see what I got in my notes. And I'm sorry, it's been earlier in the week I did this, so it's not fresh in my mind. But so Nicole Hannah-Jones, reporter of the New York Times, insists that this is the biggest problem. Okay, I need to give a little more backstory. So she also, when she was doing her research, she contacted Leslie M. Harris, a professor of history at Northwestern University and author of In the Shadow of Slavery, African Americans in New York City, 1626 to 1863. And she contacted her to check, to do her due diligence, to check her sources, to fact check. And well, Leslie Harris has an article in Politico. I have the link to it here, where she debunks a lot. She says she's shocked that that Nicole Hannah Jones went on to base the entire premise of the 1619 Project on the notion that the Revolutionary War was fought to keep slavery. It was fought over slavery, not over independence. Okay. And she said that entire premise from the get-go is faulty. It's wrong. And okay, so let me read what I have in my notes here. So she insists that the Revolutionary War was fought to protect slavery, but slavery in the colonies faced no immediate threat from Great Britain, so colonists wouldn't have needed to secede to protect it. It's true that in 1772, the famous Somerset case ended slavery in England and Wales, but it had no impact on Britain's Caribbean colonies, where the vast majority of Black people enslaved by the British labored and died, or in the North American colonies. The United States was not, in fact, founded to protect slavery, but the Times is right that slavery was central to its story. The argument among historians, while real, is hardly black and white. Over the past half century, important fundamental work on the history and legacy of slavery has been done by a multiracial group of scholars who are committed to a broad understanding of U.S. history, one that centers on race without denying the roles of other influences or erasing the contributions of white elites. This is the problem with the whole woke movement, is that it kind of centers on, like, history started in 1619. No, there's a whole civilization, the history of civilization that has gone on before then as well, that needs to be taken into account. And you can lean it. And okay, here's the empathy part that I truly have listening to Nicole Hannah Jones in her interviews is, Black America has a horrible history. It's a horrifying history. And prejudice exists, racism exists for sure. And it's been a big struggle for Black Americans for sure. I understand every bit of that. But you can lean into that. You can see everything from that point of view and lead a very dark perspective as a result. But you should also at the same time realize that while white people enslaved people, okay, everybody's been enslaved at some point in time and throughout the history of civilization, that should be recognized too. But also white people ended it. Okay, not saying Black people didn't play a part, they played a huge part, but white people really were instrumental in ending it as well. Both truths can exist at the same time, and they both should be recognized. So it depends on how you want to frame things and how you want to lead your perspective from there. And I find the 1619 perspective to be very dark, and it's not the full perspective. That's my point.
I find the 1619 movement to be thoroughly disgusting. And I would say that Nicole Hannah Jones...
Don't hold back.
I would say that Nicole Hannah Jones has done a terrible disservice to relationships between Black and white people within this country. And she's actually got no business at all dictating how curriculum should go within the United States. She has no qualifications there whatsoever. She is not a historian. She's a so-called journalist. And how in the world did this 1619 movement have any kind of relevance to what goes into textbooks across the country? Because that's exactly what's happened with this 1619 movement. By the way, I'll just state a small correction here, is that the Mayflower landed in 1608. And if you look at the Mayflower Compact that all of the people, the leaders of the Mayflower signed before they actually stepped onto this country, you'll find in there the seeds of what is in our Declaration of Independence. And you'll also find a very rough skeleton of our Constitution in there as well. This country was never founded on any kind of anything to do with slavery or perpetuating slavery. And by the way, when people started coming over here to this country, we weren't America. We were a part of Great Britain. And so any kind of slave kind of thing was actually under Great Britain. That's what happened. And when you also take a look at the Declaration of Independence, where all men are created equal, and then you look at the Constitution and you see in there the seeds of eliminating slavery. The first expansion after the colonies was the territories that now are Ohio and Michigan and Illinois, the Northwestern Territory. Slavery, the very first expansion, slavery was outlawed. There was no ability to have slavery. So this whole notion that the founders were trying to expand slavery through the Revolutionary War is warped. That is not the foundation of our country. And it actually makes me very angry when I hear this person getting any kind of attention or accolades about how this country was founded, because it's complete BS. I hate it. That's my opinion. And I will do everything in my power to fight against the 1619 movement, because that is not what this country stands for. It's not what it's about. And here's another thing I'll say about this, Barry, is that I found that this country, as far as race relations, in my whole life, at 55 years old, it had, within the last, up until about 2 years ago, race relations, in my opinion, were at an all-time positive high until these things started to happen within our politics, within our journalism.
I believe it started in Obama's second administration.
I agree with you.
And he fanned the flames of it. I really do. That's when this whole woke thing started.
We've gone backwards so quickly.
Yes.
It's terrible. And I could say this, that in my entire life, I've never felt discriminated against until this past year. Where it didn't have to do with my race, but it does have to do with vax status. I've never experienced anything like what I've experienced over the last year.
Tread lightly.
And this is really, it's just the damn truth. And I'm going to tell you that this has been a terrible, terrible disservice to what's happened. And now what you have is you've got white people being demonized for things that they never, ever did. Yeah. And, it's tragic. It's tragic what's happened to race relations. And I see Nicole Hannah-Jones in the very center of this whole thing. The 1619 movement and critical race theory, this is bigotry and disgusting and hatred.
But it's and
I have no empathy for that whatsoever.
It fuels the victim mentality.
It does. And you'll never win with the victim mentality.
No, you won't. But I understand it. I empathize with it. As I said before, Black people have a horrible history in America. It's true. And there is racism, and there's been a gigantic struggle, and we're still trying to get on the other side of it. But geez, man, I feel like the 70s was about the best period in history for getting on the other side of it, for making that turn. Media was such. We've talked, my God, every kid such as you and I that had to be forced to watch Roots. I mean, as a white person, every white person had instant guilt from then on for the rest of their lives because of the history. And so now that guilt is preyed upon.
Here's something that It's something that I would also pull up here between black and white and regarding slavery. You made a great point that slavery, everyone has enslaved everyone in world history. It's not just white people enslaving black people, but let's just, look at the real facts here. Is the way that the slave trade happened was that that tribes in Africa warred against each other, and they themselves were enslaving each other and selling those slaves to the European merchants on slave ships. So it's
that's
not like
overlooked.
Completely overlooked. And this is, so if you really want to go and go reparations and look at who was responsible, we were all responsible. Everybody. And let me just say this,
it's humans.
We talk about slavery being tragic and everything, but just about 99.9% of the black people here in the United States are related to the white slave owners. I know in my family I am. So that white people are a part of my family, and every other black person. That's the unique thing about being black versus African, is that black people, it's a unique thing here in the United States. We have white blood in us. And I got to say that if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here. I would not have existed. And you know what? I kind of like existing. And so I'm not saying that wasn't a good thing, or that was a good thing. I'm just saying that, you know what, we got to put these things behind us, because they are behind us. You made another great point, is that we fought a civil war over this. 600,000 Americans died. Now, they weren't all white people, because black people fought alongside white people in the Civil War. About 10% of the Union troops were black at the end of the war. But we lost all of those kids. That was a lot compared to the population, too. That was a huge percentage of people. American people, white and black, paid a huge price and continue to pay this price. But why go backwards? I think that's a terrible thing. And it's a terrible injustice to the people that paid with their lives to have this type of a freedom. I think it's horrible. The whole
woke movement is always trying to go back 30, 40, 50 years and persecute people for things that they did back then, now today. And that makes no sense whatsoever.
I was watching a news story yesterday where a school district in Minnesota the board was proposing to pay black teachers an extra stipend. And I'm like, this is
how racist is that?
It is. It's complete racism. And here's the underlying thing, is that black people are too weak to be able to sustain themselves. So we gotta just help them along, like we're mentally disabled or something. I mean, what is that? That's horrible.
So racist.
We talked about the Salvation Army wanting people to apologize, white people to. I don't want anybody apologizing to me. What I want people to respect me as a man, as a human being. That's it. That's all that I require. And we already have that. So let's just move on.
Move forward.
Right.
And celebrate the accomplishments. 170,000 people every day are being pulled out of poverty because of the richness of the world today and progress. But we don't talk about things like that. No, we go back 30, 40, 200 years. And try to find crimes of generations gone by and bring that to the forefront today. My
blood boiling here early in the morning.
Oh, well, let me add to that. So what I mentioned before, I'm just reading my notes from a few days ago. Second CNN producer is arrested for misconduct involving juvenile victims. There's actually nothing that bothers me more than child stuff. That and animals, because both are victims waiting to happen for us adults. We are to protect them. They're helpless. So that bothers me more than anything in the world. Okay, so he resigns 1 week after top producer for Chris Cuomo was fired after the sex crime allegations against a 9-year-old girl.
Wait, what?
It's a poorly written headline, as always. Let me just read the bullet points because this sheds light on it. Rick Salibi, a former senior producer for Jake Tapper's The Lead show, resigned from the network earlier this month. Meanwhile, another CNN senior producer, John Griffin, was recently arrested for sex crimes against children. Now, I saw this, of course, in the Daily Mail as headlines, and as I always do, when I find something interesting, I Google it to corroborate, because the Daily Mail goes freaking nuts all over the place. And I found this all over independent and conservative news outlets, news sources, nowhere in mainstream media.
What that figures.
Oh, that makes my blood boil. That really does.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff that mainstream media will sweep under the rug, real crimes, to support its own narrative is disgusting.
I agree. I mean, I'm kind of speechless on this whole thing.
I know.
I'm kind of overwhelmed that something like that is even going on, especially in the case as we just had the Ghislaine Maxwell verdict that just happened, and
4 out of 5 guilty on 4 out of 5, as I recall.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's the tip of the iceberg.
Still alive, man.
Same here. Because we have these I think I don't know. I mean, first off, she's looking at something like 65 years in prison right now.
And what they're worried about is that now, to barter for her sentence, she's going to spill the beans on all kinds of big names.
Well, and that's the real thing here, is that there apparently are many people that are involved on both sides, victims and people that have perpetrated this crime against very young people, minors, young children, that Ghislaine Maxwell apparently was responsible for recruiting and getting them involved in this kind of thing. But the thing is that I'm not hearing a lot of is, well, who are these people? We get a lot of speculation about that, but they have to know who these people are. There's no way people have been able to hide that, and it seems like they're getting a lot of help from the media.
Bill Clinton has logged something like 28 trips to that pedophile island.
Right.
But he's the same guy that went on that tarmac and with the attorney general to plead his case with his wife over the email. Those two should be in prison for treasonous acts. And we all know this. Everybody knows it. But man, there's just a whole lot of people that are above the law.
I think that we also got Prince Albert, who had to step down from his royal position guilty. As everybody a result of this. But the fact is that there are probably hundreds of people that were involved, and we've only heard a couple of names here. We heard Bill Gates' name as well. But and the fact is that these are the most powerful people in the world, and that's how they're able to hide behind the shelter of money that they have. But justice is supposed to be blind, and if these people guilty of abusing minors like that, then they deserve everything that happens. Justice should prevail. That's what I hate. That's what I hate about this whole story. I'm glad that they were able to catch these people at CNN, but I think the problem is so much worse and actually organized. And this whole notion that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his jail cell is absolutely
the cameras
crazy.
Happen to go out.
Oh yeah, they went out, and come on, this is terrible. We're talking
doctors.
We're talking about kids here.
Doctors that have proven that no, the fractures in the neck don't happen that way from hanging.
Yeah, so it's very, very logical.
Everybody knows this, Merle.
Right.
Everybody knows this. And nothing's going to happen. Just as long as we're crapping on everybody. Let's continue with this. Democrats fall flat with Latinx language. How do you like Latinx? You know what?
I don't like it.
When we were in college, that's when the whole African-American thing got started.
Which I didn't like.
You hated it. You hated it. You're like, I'm not from Africa. I'm American.
Right. Exactly.
And there's a South Africa is predominantly white, I think, or at least a good percentage. So you could be from the Caribbean and be black. You're not African American. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's that whole politically correct movement that always goes overboard. And it's always from white people in suburbia who don't know any better. And they push this stuff out there. And so only 2% of Hispanics polled refer to themselves as Latinx, while 68% call themselves Hispanic. 21% favor Latino or Latina, according to a survey from Ben Dixon and Amandi International, a top Democratic firm specializing in Latino outreach. So the Democrats continue to shoot themselves in both feet with appointing Kamala Harris simply because she's black and a woman, and ignoring the fact that everybody hates her for good reason. They continue to do this stuff with Latinx. Well, they're always trying to play the race card, and it just falls flat. They're shooting themselves in both feet, as I said. So.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too, Barry, is that African American, African is not a race, American is not a race. So how is it that African American is a race? American is not a race. Right. It's a weird thing that we somehow have related a country to your race or a continent to your race. As to your point about South African, there's all kinds of white people and Arab people and people of different races that live on the continent of Africa. Africa's not a country, it's a continent. It's just it's a weird thing. Like what this whole politically correct thing is stupid. It's ignorant. Where are we coming from here?
More problematic for Democrats. 40% said Latinx offends them to some degree. 30% said that they would be less likely to support a politician or organization that uses that term.
Right. Same. I
wouldn't. You want to crap on CNN some more?
Yeah.
This is all of the left media, but obviously CNN's a big part of that. The Covington kid. Nicholas Sandman reaches a settlement with NBC in Covington Catholic High School controversy. Got a link to that. So to refresh, he said, what is it? Okay, in quotes, I heard them call us incest kids, bigots, and racists. So this is the kid that was wearing the MAGA hat while this Indian guy was beating a drum right in his face, and he had the smirk on his face. And so mainstream media clipped that, as they always do, little tiny clip out of context, and propped that up to be as him being as this young kid being racist, when in the reality of the whole thing, this crazy Indian guy beating the drum was instigating him.
And he was using racist language against him before
and that's what he was saying, that other kids were other kids were badgering him, and his friends said incest kids, bigots, calling them incest kids, bigots, and racists. And the court of law, let's see, his filing against NBC Universal and MSNBC reportedly asked for $275 million in damages, and CNN and the Washington Post both settled defamation lawsuits from Salmon in 2020 for undisclosed amounts of money. So this kid is set for life, but all of these leftist news outlets are found guilty of defamation here, of taking this out of context. It was fake news, as if we didn't know that. But I'm telling you, man, people that watch CNN and have that on habitually in the background, they don't know this.
They don't know this. That's exactly right. And they're still going to go ahead and quote these things that they said originally about this guy and about the situation. And that's the crime that seems to be happening here. And this is what pits the society against itself. Because now if that subject comes up and you try to say, hey, well, this is what no, it didn't happen. That's not how it happened. And then you lose friends that way. It's so crazy.
No, that's true. That's very true. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I'm right there with you.
That's all I thought that I had like 3 billion things in my notes. I covered everything.
Well, no, but that was you had some really good stuff right there. And it's so crazy how quickly time goes by as we speak here. I have this one right here is that Pelosi announces plans to commemorate January 6th anniversary at the Capitol.
What?
Yeah. So
I cannot stand that woman. I'm sorry to say that so bluntly, but I absolutely cannot stand her. I think she's evil on earth. She's
I can't agree with you more on that. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Thursday announced a slate of events around the U.S. Capitol next week to commemorate the one-year anniversary of the January 6th insurrection. By the way, this is CNN reporting on this. These events are intended, this is a quote, these events are intended as an observance of reflection, remembrance, and recommitment in the spirit of unity, patriotism, and prayerfulness, Pelosi said in a letter to her Democratic colleagues. Starting at noon, January 6th, there'll be a prayer and a moment of silence on the House floor, followed by an historic perspective conversation between historians and to establish and preserve narrative of January 6th. It goes on to say that the insurrection, which began as Congress members on the floor worked to certify the results of the 2020 election, that it commanded the nation's attention as violent scenes of rioters attacking officers and destroying parts of the Capitol were broadcast. It goes on to say that that the ensuing chaos led to deaths of multiple people the day of the attack or shortly after, while several officers who responded to the Capitol during the attack later died by suicide. Here's the thing is, if we're really trying to get past a situation, which this paints it in a way that I don't agree with, then why would we
this horse, man?
Why would we stir it up again, on the anniversary as if this was like a 9/11 attack? That's not what happened here.
What they should talk about equally as much is the 4 people that seem to be undercover FBI agent provocateurs that were involved that are all on camera but have disappeared and faced no charges.
Yeah, and how about the John Sullivan that we saw a lot of recordings from, who was inciting people to tear up the place, who happened to be right there when the shooting happened, and it turns out he's a member of Antifa. And so, I think that the story has been so used to drum up this anti-Trump kind of thing, and And this is another example of that, like there's going to be patriotism, unity, and prayerfulness over this whole thing. That's not what this is about. Come on. It's so transparent what this is about.
It is.
And to add in prayerfulness about this, to invoke God over this whole thing, when we know this is just a political stunt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, come on. There's no spiritual content whatsoever about what Nancy Pelosi is doing here or what she's ever done.
I think if she touched the Bible, she would probably burn. Just combust.
So that's what's going on there. Look forward to that on January 6th, where the big January 6th celebration happens. How about John Madden passing away this week?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't? Yep.
No.
So John Madden, he's 85 years old, passed away this week. And
well, I got to say, for as big as he was, to make it to 85 is kind of a surprise. So, hey, God bless him. What a revolutionary guy he was in the broadcast booth.
No kidding. And, John Madden was such a powerful personality. And, here he was also the coach of the Raiders and won a Super Bowl as the coach of the Raiders. But he did pass away unexpectedly. And the family's not actually talking about what actually happened here, but he unexpectedly died. I think this was on Tuesday this week. Yeah, it probably is what happened, but and he's got the video game series, NFL Madden. It's the top producing video game of all time.
Well, have you ever seen clips of it? It's so realistic. You think you're watching a real game these days.
I
don't involve myself in that stuff because I'd lose my life. I'd get immersed and I'd never come out. I feel like I'm already living in the Matrix anyway. Yeah. But quick fact on Madden is, did you know that he was afraid of flying? So he bussed to every destination to do the broadcasts.
In fact, what I read was that he actually quit his coaching position because of this. He was this fear of flying really became a big deal to him, and he actually went into broadcasting as a result and became really the number one broadcaster out there.
He really was amazing. And to this day, God only knows, how old is Al Michaels?
Gosh, I have no idea.
He's got to be 80 and he's still doing it. He's my favorite.
Is he really?
Yeah, man. I've listened to a couple interviews with him, and his knowledge of football is off the charts. Like it was like listening to someone give a speech on quantum physics. I couldn't even follow a lot of what he said. I love that guy as a broadcaster. Like he's my all-time favorite.
When you hear his voice, it's just, he is the NFL.
Yeah. Him with Chris Collinsworth.
I love Chris Collins. I hated him when he played football because he was too damn good. But
he's a great announcer.
He really is. I love his kind of Southern twang that he's got there. He just
always says very insightful things.
He really does. He really does.
Love that guy. And those two, their chemistry, as a combination, man, it's unbeatable. It's like the best of all time. You know.
Totally agree. How about this one in the news? Have you seen what's happening in the Denver area with the wildfires?
Yeah. Not the wildfires. I thought you were going to talk about that shooter that went to 4 different locations before they finally shot him.
I don't know a whole lot about that. I heard about that. I guess he killed 5 people, but I didn't know he went to 4 different locations.
Oh, right out of a crazy movie. Yeah.
Really?
I didn't put anything in my notes, but it was around the Denver area, I do believe. And
that's what I heard too.
Started shooting up in one place, then went in a car chase or something, went to another place, started shooting. And then I think it was the 3rd or 4th place before they finally got him. It's crazy. But tell me about these wildfires. I didn't know about this.
Yeah, it started yesterday. Apparently, it was down power lines that started it in combination with winds that were between 30 and 110 miles per hour in the Boulder area. So 2 towns,
Boulder,
Louisville and Superior have really been hit hard. Almost 600 homes now have been lost in this 24-hour period, not even 24 hours yet. The governor's actually called a state of emergency. And if you look at the video from this, Barry, it is terrifying.
I can't believe I hadn't heard about this.
What's happened here is...
Did this just happen like yesterday?
Yeah, just yesterday at about 11 o'clock in the morning, Mountain Time, was the down power lines that spread, well, like wildfire. It just, not to be punny here, but that's exactly what happened. The governor said that this is the kind of fire that can move the size of a football field in under 10 seconds. The video is crazy. I saw a video this morning of some people trying to escape the wildfire in their car, and they literally had to drive through a wall of fire. Wow. The skies are red. Smoke is everywhere. And like I said, over 600. This is usually when you see these kind of wildfires, they're happening in semi-rural areas. But this is an urban fire that's happening, and it's destroyed nearly 600 houses already.
Wow.
And it's not over yet. Yeah, it's not over yet. They're still fighting this. The video that I saw this morning, it looks like the winds have calmed down, thank God, but they've got a lot going on. One of the newscasters that I said was talking about how they were kind of close to one of the house fires, and the fire department had them move away, because what they were saying is, this is not a fire like other fires that you all report on. These are houses that are burning. So there's couches, there's carpets, and there's a large amount of carcinogens that are going up into the air that wouldn't normally be going up in the air in these other wildfires.
Wow. That makes me think about when you lived out there in Denver.
Yes. Yeah.
You painted this picture for me that I saw clearly in my head. So you had these big windows in this place that you were living. And back then, I remember, it was big news. The fires, was the Rocky Mountains?
Yes, it was the Rocky Mountains. Yeah.
You would just stand there and watch these fires burning way out there in the distance.
I never, first off, before I moved to Denver, I'd never seen any wildfires or forest fires before.
Never have. Right.
And this, at the time, it was the largest forest fire that Colorado had ever had. I'm struggling for the name of that particular fire, but this, I remember the day I saw it started, this big plume of smoke was coming out of the mountain range, which we were pretty close to. And before Ed Scott was visiting, actually, my brother. And before the fire went out, this was at the beginning. I know I'm all over the place. This was at the beginning of the summer. The thing lasted the entire summer, and it ruined the whole summer. But I mean, smoke was everywhere the whole summer, and things were just falling out of the sky, big burnt twigs and things like that. Big twigs. Like, how in the world did that get up in the air? It seemed like the world was coming to an end. Here, it turns out that fire was started by a park ranger who had decided, she was a jilted lover, decided to burn these love letters, and it started this whole huge fire that raged for a whole summer and destroyed a huge amount of wildlife and land. These things are crazy, and these poor people in Boulder, and my heart's out to them. And what a terrible way to end 2021.
Man, ain't that the truth? So as we wind things up here for this part of the show, I don't have anything on the lighter side. Just because I'm ill-prepared and had a lot of technical difficulties. So let's oh, dude, go. Do you want to share the screen? We didn't share anything at all.
I can actually. Let me just go ahead and I don't know.
We usually share. Oh, you know what? We got a notice for copyright infringement on the last show because of the trailers that I shared. Yeah.
I don't really have anything to show here because there was some video and it's actually taken up what I wanted to show. But I talked about the Detroit Police Department last week and how they were able to spot this woman that was kidnapping these people. Pretty crazy stuff, and they good heads up and everything. Here's
and I
another
wondered
story.
How did I was hoping that you're going to follow up on that, because I wondered how did they follow their instincts on that? Like what? It's a
good training story. Is all I got to say on that. Here's one. It was the day after Christmas at an abandoned house, and something seemed off. Detroit police have announced, and a malnutritioned new mother was scavenging for food. This is a dog scavenging for food outside the vacant home, and with her two young puppies inside, including one who had gotten its neck tied up in a mattress spring, as temperatures were expected to drop below freezing on Sunday. And around 5 p.m., two officers with the city's 11th precinct identified as Karina G. and G. Rogers were called to respond to a report of a vicious dog in the area. But the dog was found was nowhere near that. Like I said, it was malnutritioned. Anyway, to make a long story short, they could tell that the dog was a nursing dog that was very swollen, and they decided to look for the puppies, and they found these puppies trapped in this house. One of them was actually trapped like by the neck by a spring in this couch, and they rescued these two little puppies and the mother. And they said that these dogs, it was going to be ultra cold that night, and these dogs would have died had they not gotten there. So there's a nice little Christmas story.
Again, though, hats off to Detroit Police Department. How about
I'm telling you, that is such a nice story right there. and you gotta, these police officers, they never get any good PR.
No.
And it's so nice to be able to say something nice about what the police are doing. And here's the thing. Growing up, I was always taught to respect police officers, and they have a tough job, and they're protecting us and everything, and you really want to pay them respect. I think we've lost that. My parents taught me that. And parents, get on with that. Teach your kids to respect the police officers. It goes a long way towards a civil society. And anyhow, hats off to these guys.
It gets to the fact of we're anti-disciplinarians today. Whether it's your parents, your teachers, or the police, you're supposed to just, no, anybody that's going to try to keep you in line is a bad person. And so what do we got? We got, I say it all the time, participation trophy kids that grow up to be, they don't know boundaries. And God only knows that I spent my entire life bouncing off the walls trying to find boundaries, rebellious person that I've always been. And, the fact of the matter is, when you find the boundaries, now you know the rules of the game, and now you can operate accordingly and productively. Yeah. So we need disciplinarians. We need disciplinarian parents, teachers, police, all the way down the line. And if you don't believe that, well, look at the cities that defunded the police. Yeah.
Quite well. I got one other one here, and I just want to add this. TSA officer spots infant not breathing in New Jersey airport, leaps over conveyor rollers to perform Heimlich to save a life.
Newly hired, by the way.
She'd only been on the job for something like 2 months. The security officer leapt over to save this 2-month-old boy who stopped breathing at a security checkpoint. Look, these people aren't paid to look for people that aren't breathing. But this person noticed that it turns out she's an EMT also. And it is true. She'd only been there for about 2 months. Her name is this Selena Morales, and she sprung into action to resuscitate this child on December 9th after her mother picked him up from a car carrier and noticed he wasn't breathing. She saved this baby's life. So 2 months into the job, she already saved somebody's life. Once again, got to give these guys respect.
Absolutely. And with that, we really need to wrap up. We're kind of over, but I want to just say, everybody, I really wish you a happy new year, and let's all pray that 2022 is
2022 is the year, baby.
Well, it is for you, man. You're making a change for all of us. You know, it's going to be a bright year, and you're going to spread that sunshine on the rest of us.
Well, God bless everyone, and happy new year.
All right, happy new year. All right, everybody. Hey, go to over50startingover.com, sign up for our list, and get all this important stuff to your email box as it happens. At least download Spotify app and sign up there. Get our video and audio there as well. All right, guys, see you next week.